Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Today we are covering Double Indemnity, a movie that you suggested last week. I think I've only seen this film once before, maybe twice, and it's actually better written than I remember it. Like I remember liking it, but I was like, actually, this is really well written. Like rewatching it, I was like, actually, this is great. Yeah, the writing and the pace as well is very good. It's very pacey.
So I think I watched this as a kid as well, but we studied it when I was doing
oh, okay. Okay, well, it is kind of the it's one of those, like, you know, archetypical noir movies.
So we were doing film noir, and this is the first movie that my teacher.
You'd have to.
So, okay, this makes sense, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'd forgotten that it was when I picked it, I forgot it was Billy Wilder, and I thought, oh damn, we've not long done a Billy Wilder movie, but that's fine.
Oh, Young Sherlock. That feels like a while ago. It feels like a while ago to me now. Maybe it wasn't.
Sherlock, but Private Life of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, Private Life. Yes, I thought we did that a while ago, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not that. It feels like it was, you know, a while ago, but you know, but it's
Young
fine.
Sherlock is Sherlock is because I keep seeing that fucking advort for Young Sherlock.
Oh, the series,
Amazon. That's what's doing that.
It's on my
list.
Stuck
in my brain.
I'm gonna get around to watching that. I haven't yet.
I have concerns, but I'm willing to give it a go.
Yeah, same here. It's the whole Sherlock meeting Moriarty, you know, years before is a bit weird.
Yes,
but
it's odd.
I'm willing to go with it. We've had weirder Holmesy.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. I mean, the young Sherlock movie. You know, he's at school with Watson, so even that's changed.
Yes, yeah,
which is fine. I mean, I've got a lot of love for that movie with the the CG stained glass window and stuff, and
yes,
it's got some great stuff in it. It's a really nice movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, shall we get into this one?
Indeed.
We of course start with what I would consider, I think, quite iconic titles for the time, with the silhouette of the man with the broken leg walking towards camera. You know, a lot of movies from the period didn't really have an awful lot going on with their credits, so it's a bit different, you know.
No, it usually just sort of colours.
Normally text and on
and sort of shadow and not much else. Yeah.
Yeah. And it then opens kind of, well, it does a Tarantino on you, really. It kind of opens at the end. We see a car speeding down the road. And of course it then ultimately pulls up / crashes. I mean, it almost totals a truck on the way in. And then finally comes to rest at this building. And of course he slowly, we see, as he is injured. He doesn't have a broken leg. He's not like the Silhouette Man, but he is clearly unwell. As he walks into or actually knocks on the door, doesn't he, to try and get in?
Yeah, he knocks on the door. The I guess the night watchman or building.
Yeah.
Sort of, you know, security lets him in.
Yes, and of course recognizes him. And calls him by name, Mr. Neff. And of course, this is the Pacific building? Is that right?
Yeah.
And so he heads up. And you know, the night watchman kind of questions him. He's like, "Oh, you're working late tonight, aren't you, sir?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know."
Yeah.
You know. And he says, does he say you look like that? You look like an all-in type or something like that. It's like the guy's like literally like sweating and dying. But yeah, in any case,
he's trying to
to cover it with his coat. Of course, as he gets to the office, we see all of the cleaners. Obviously, the day is over. There's paper strewn everywhere, and they're kind of
And I love
clearing
that
everything up.
you get this one that this is one of the best movies for shadow work, because you
It's
get him.
fantastic.
He comes out of the sort of the off the lift, and he
Mm.
starts walking towards the office. And I love the office. He's got this you've got this entrance way, and then you come into this. He's like on the balcony looking
Yes.
down over the sort of these like little cubicles and like
Mm.
the cleaning staff moving around. You've got these great, amazing pools of light and darkness around, and you sort of, as you look up, that you're changed to down below, looking at him walking across the balcony towards his office, and you get this massive shadow looming, but his own shadow looming over him. It's wonderful.
Yes, and I love when he enters his office. You get the reflection onto the glass door, so you just get the kind of reflected name and just his silhouette, pure black silhouette.
Yeah,
Lovely shot.
mm-hmm.
He sits down, which is first time he kind of comes fully into view, fully into light. And you can see he's got the gunshot on his jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries for some time to light a cigarette, and then he starts recording. And of course, this is the setup for the movie, is that he is basically confessing. He's recording his confession. And he says that he gives his name as Neff, and he gives the date. And then he starts talking to Keys, who will turn out to be his boss. And he says, "Oh, this is a confession," but then he's like, "Well, I don't really like the word confession, but I want to tell you what was right under your nose the whole time." Basically, is what he's
He's almost like rubbing it in his nose. He's it's almost like he wants to prove that he almost got away with it.
Well, I guess he's trying to prove. I kind of took it to be that he's trying to prove that he would have got away with it.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have caught him. It was her that fucked him over.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he might have got away with it. But yeah. In any case,
he says he did it for money and a girl.
And he lost both.
Get the money, and he didn't get the girl.
Yeah. And yeah. So he starts recounting. What he did. Of course, he tried to kill. How do you pronounce the name? Is Dirichon the last name of them? I forget the last name.
Dietrichson.
Thank you. Yeah. So he says that he tried to kill him, and as you said, he did it for money and a woman, and got neither. And then it flashes back, and we kind of come back to this. It's almost as the 3-act structure. It kind of like at the end of each act we come back to him and he says a bit and then it goes back again. It's not as intrusive as some films. The obviously you do get the noir voice over the entire movie, but cutting back to him is done quite sparingly. And so he narrates the first time that he met the woman in question. And he says that he was obviously in the insurance game, and he was there to wasn't it car insurance, isn't it? He's
there to get the guy to renew his car insurance.
The housemaid tries to kick him out, and she's like, just go away. And he's like, nope.
He's been trying to get him for 3 weeks or something, and he hasn't been able to track him down. So he thought he'd come straight to the house. And I love that you get the wonderful dialogue in this, the sort of fast-paced dialogue, and it's just little things like him explaining about the house and how it's like, oh, this house
all
was
the
done
rage 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was all rage a couple of years ago, and they probably brought it, and he probably isn't within his means. He probably he probably couldn't really afford this house, but they got it anyway somehow. And I love what I really like about this is it's the start of the story, and he gets out of his car and he walks up the driveway to the house, and he walks to the house, and everything is pure bright. It's the brightest this
Oh, and
movie
you
ever.
got the kids playing baseball. It's like a
Yeah,
happy,
yeah,
almost like happy California day. You know, it's like
yeah,
Hollywood. Here it is. You know,
exactly.
um,
That this is the brightest this movie is ever going to be. It's
oh yeah,
all
yeah.
going to
Don't
get
get used to
darker
it.
from
Yeah, yeah.
here.
This is it. This is the best day of his life in this
Yeah,
movie.
and
Um,
I love when he sort of forces his way in, sort of past the maid sort of thing, and I like she said he says to it, she says, "Oh, she's upstairs," sort of thing. You know, you can wait over there, and she says they keep the liquor locked up.
yes. Um, yeah. So anyway, she well before that, doesn't she? She comes to the top of the stairs, doesn't she? As he comes in, I think first
I
before
think
he gets
yeah,
sent to the room.
she does. Yeah,
And for the 1940s, you
yeah.
know, she comes out. She's wearing what, like a bathrobe or a sunbathing
No,
robe?
she's got a towel on.
It's
She's
a
been
towel.
sunbathing.
Sorry, no, yeah, you're right. She's just raped
Yeah,
in a towel.
she's been sunbathing, and she comes to the top of the stairs. You know, no, you can see her shoulder, all her shoulders
Mm.
and everything. You know, there's
Yeah.
um, it's incredibly suggestive. And what's a wonderful is like almost as soon as she turns up, you know who's going to be boss because she's right up there. You're looking
Yes.
up at her. She is, you know, look, she's looking down on you, you pleb. You
Yeah. I
know,
mean,
she's
again, the camera angle is perfect here.
mm,
It really does tell you everything you need to know about where this
yeah,
is going.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
and
it's a
bless him,
fantastic shot.
Fred McMurray does such a wonderful job of you know he's the smart talking salesman, and then he looks up and sees her, and you immediately know, oh,
Yes.
he's
Yeah. Yeah.
fucked.
And
He's fucked.
I do enjoy the when she says she's been sunbathing. He's like, "Oh, I hope there weren't too many pigeons around,"
Yeah,
which I thought was a great line. But anyway, as you said, he's shown into I guess an office or a lounge area, and he looks over the pictures. This is where we see the husband.
yep,
Pictures of the husband, and you know he's got the goldfish bowl on the big desk. Clearly they are people of wealth. Um,
yeah. But obviously not too much. They've got money, but they're not. There's a sort of an element of they're not massively, you know, loaded. They're just sort of
mm.
they feel like they're just making it as rich people. You know what I mean?
Yes, well, she says that he still kind of gets involved in the operation,
Yeah,
which says to you kind of like maybe he's just come into this position and he won't kind of let go of his previous position or something. He's kind of making a lot
yeah.
more money now, but as you said, is almost like new that he's got this kind of money.
Hmm.
But it is the 40s and he has two cars, so he's doing pretty well for
Yeah,
himself.
yeah.
Um,
He is doing well. But you also
yeah.
you got the picture of his daughter as well. You see the picture of
Yes.
his
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she finally comes down. She sits opposite, and asks, you know, what he's here for, and he says, you know, it's about the insurance on the car, and you know, she starts talking about the other car club. There's like a car club. She's like, well, what about this
Yeah.
other car club? And he's like, well, you can use them if you want, but you know, you won't get as good of a rate as we're going to give you. But immediately you can see she's really switched on. She's really, you know,
Mhm.
she knows what she's doing. She's already kind of playing him.
Yeah,
And he says,
and
you know, I've got.
she has
Sorry.
this amazing sort of she has this amazing sort of demeanor. She's sort of in control, but she's sort of squished into the corner of this chair.
Yes.
You know, the chair looks really big around her, but and she's
Mm-hmm.
sort of, but it's like she's sort of feigning that she's sort of, you know, I'm just a sort of, you know, a female, and you're so domineering, sort of thing. But that
Mm.
you can see the control in her eyes when she talks to him.
Yes. Yeah. And I do like when because she stands and she's like playing with the lighter in her hand,
Mm,
and it does, because this is just before she starts bringing up accident insurance.
yeah,
She does. You can see she's kind of scheming You can see
Yeah.
the cogs turning in her
Hmm.
mind. You know, she's thinking this through. Um, so he says, if I could have a few moments with your husband, and she says, oh, he's out, he's at work, and you'll have to catch him another time. But then she starts talking about accident insurance, and he says, yeah, we do accident insurance. He is somewhat distracted, however, by the ankle, her legs and her ankle bracelet,
Yeah.
which he keeps kind of fawning over. But he says, yeah, we have accident insurance. And she says, well, how about we arrange a meeting for 8:30 the next day, I think it is, or something like that, or a couple of days time.
Yeah.
He is very upfront with his attraction to her. Like he
Yep.
is not in any way hiding the
Yeah.
fact that he's attracted to her.
Hmm.
Um,
And I think
but
it almost feels. I think it does feel like he's sort of surprising himself with
well,
how bold.
he says a few times during the movie, especially early on, how he just cannot. He's just walked in on this beauty and he cannot think about her.
Yeah.
Cannot stop thinking about her. Sorry.
Yeah.
And he
And
even says as he's leaving, he's like, oh, because she's like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow or whatever. And he's like, what, same chair, same anklet, same dress,
yeah.
like it's just,
And I it was he said she said something about her name being Phyllis, and
mm,
he says Phyllis, I think I like it, and she says, you think you like it? He says, well, I need to drive it around a bit
I
first.
need to drive it around a bit. Yeah, that's great.
And
Um,
I read somewhere that there was a thing about anklets, and
mm.
apparently anklets worn a certain way was a signifier of a married woman that was willing to go with
Oh,
other men.
really? Okay, I was
Yeah.
unaware of that. Okay, that
So I
makes
don't
a
know
lot
how
more
much
sense.
that's true, but I did read that
Mm.
somewhere. So it could be that the anklet is a sign of she's
Well,
willing.
and if it is a sign,
Mm.
he knew that she was wearing
Yeah,
nothing for sunbathing earlier, so she's chosen that specifically for him, which would
yeah,
explain why he's way up front. So
yeah.
yeah, um, yeah. So he then leaves and starts driving home, and we get the monologue of him saying like, I can still smell the honeysuckle all along that street, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, he's just immediately enraptured by this woman, and like he remembers every moment of that meeting.
Hmm.
And so he goes back to the office to check his mail, I believe, which is where we're introduced to Mr. Keys, because when he gets there, Mr. Keys wants to meet with him.
Yeah.
And this is where we learn that Mr. Keys, he's he is a smart fellow. He is very good at his job,
Yeah.
and he's very good at catching people out. We see this guy who I believe it was a truck, isn't it? Truck insurance or
Yeah.
something.
This
This
is
guy's in for.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he just immediately banged to rights.
Yeah. He's like, he explains about his little man. And and
Yes,
the guy's like, "What do you mean, little man?" I know you did it yourself because my little man tells me." And the guy's like,
yeah.
"What little man?" I love the look of panic on the guy's face, like someone, oh my god, someone
He looks,
told him.
yeah, like Keys questions it for 1 second, and
Yeah,
he immediately, his eyes fold immediately. He's like the
yeah,
guiltiest looking fucking guy.
yeah. It's
Um,
this little man that lives in my stomach, and he twists. Whenever I hear stories, it twists me in knots, and I
yeah.
know that there's something not right.
He says whenever phonies come along, it ties his stomach in knots, which will come up again later as
Mm.
well. Um,
What I love
and
about especially later on when it definitely becomes clear. But what I like about Edward G. Robinson's
mm,
Barton Keyes is he's this sort of he's your sort of classic genius that's disheveled genius. He's got this sort of he doesn't wear a jacket. His waistcoat's very rarely buttoned up.
yeah,
He's all disheveled. He fumbles with his matches every time he wants to light one of his many cigars.
Yeah.
But he has this wonderful, almost like a sort of, a proto Columbo. He has that slightly
Yes. Yeah, he
bumbling.
kind of does. Yeah, he kind
Yeah,
of
he has that
does.
sort of slightly dishevelled, bumbling. Actually, I'm the cleverest bloke in the room, but I'll pretend I'm a bit of an idiot.
Yeah. Um. And yeah, so he basically dresses the guy down, and he's like, "Look, we found the shavings in your truck." And he's like, "What shavings?" He's like, "The shavings, from what you used to set fire to it, buddy. Like we've got you." And he's like, "Look, just walk away now, and it'll be fine. Just walk away. Well, you be honest. You can stay honest and leave. You know." And I love when he tells him how to open the door.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says, sign this waiver, you're fine, and you can
Yeah,
leave. And he's like,
just get out. Yeah,
completely, he's yeah, go to the door, turn the handle,
turn
pull
the
it
handle.
towards you. There you go.
And then of course he talks to Neff, and he's like, what do these people fucking take us for? Basically, he's just like, they think they could just come in here, write some bullshit policy, and then immediately claim like we're never gonna catch them. And he says, he's had 26 years, I think he says, of this.
Yeah,
And he says, I've loved every minute of it. He's like, he loves it. And Neff even says to him, he's like, you love it too much,
Yeah.
And I think his dress really kind of speaks to that, his disheveled like look, like you said,
Yeah.
the fact that he's not dressed in his full managerial suit. He's a bit disheveled. He's looking for his matches. He's all over the place because he's just all about that job. He loves that job.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny you mentioned about the matches, because it was one thing I noticed. He always fumbles for his matches. The only time he does it without any problem is right at the end for Neff.
Yeah.
It's the time he gets the match and lights it straight away, no problem.
Yeah.
But yes, so
and there's a line as well where he's talking about like his method and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And what he believes. and Neff says, what is it? He says, what is it he said? He says, he says, turn the record over, let's hear the other side. Because he's clearly heard this all before, and he knows exactly what, he knows his whole spiel about how he works out, how criminals are wrong, and what it is that they've done wrong, and all that sort of stuff, which is great.
Yeah. So he heads to his office, where he finds a Neff, that is, and finds a note that's been left for him. She has changed the appointment. Now she wants to meet on Thursday at 3:30 instead of the 8:30 on the Wednesday, I think it was, previously. So I assume she's probably checked her husband's calendar and thought, oh no, that's when he's not in. Let's do that time instead. And he says in the monologue, he had like a trip to Santa Monica, and there were like prospects out there. Like he had a lot lined up on Thursday. And all he can think about is Phyllis. He's going to ditch everything to see this woman again. He is head over heels immediately.
Yeah, I mean, when he explains it, he almost starts out as a sort of, it's annoying because I've got all this sort of thing, and then immediately goes, no, but I'm just going to get rid of all that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And of course, we get that great shot of her coming down the stairs as he knocks on the door. She comes down the stairs, opens the door, and he's leaning against the door with the biggest shit-eating grin you have ever seen. It's just like, one
of the things I love about Fred McMurray, the guy who plays Neff. Up until this point, he was mostly he was renowned for playing good guys. He was Mr. Nice Guy, sort of, love interest in almost all the movies he'd taken. And Wilder basically, said to him, I want you, initially said to him, I want you to play this movie. And he's like, well, this is not what I do. I don't understand this. And he says, no, I think you're the right person for it. He says, you had this idea that because of who he is, he's perfect for this role, because it's the idea that anybody can fall for, fall for someone and make stupid decisions and go down the wrong path. So he that's why he picked him. And one of the things I love about Murray was he was. You can definitely see it in this movie, especially like things like when he stood in the doorway and he's got the grin on his face.
Mm.
It's the guy who created original Captain Marvel, DC Comics Captain Marvel before he was Shazam.
Mm.
He based the look. So when he created him, he based the look of Captain Marvel on Fred McMurray, and he's like, oh, I can see it. You can see the original Captain Marvel when he's stood there grinning, with the hair and everything. It's perfect.
Yeah. So he's taken back into the lounge. She keeps calling for the maid. She's not around, so she ends up
the most inconvincing way. She's like, "Oh, maid,
Nettie, I think her name is. She's like Nettie,
yeah,
Nettie, like as quiet as she can. And she's like, "Oh darn, I'm gonna have to pour these iced teas myself."
Yeah. Oh, no, I forgot it was her day off. It's like, yeah, okay, that was really convincing.
And he's like, tea. I thought it was funny when he's like, oh, tea drinker, huh? Where did you pick that up? Or, are you English? I was like, we don't drink iced tea over here. Jesus Christ. What the hell are you talking about? Yorkshire tea over here, sir. Iced tea maybe on the one hot day we have a year. But, yeah. So she says, oh, hey, I spoke to my husband about that policy. And he said he'll sign with you. He will totally sign with you. In fact, I thought he would be here today, but unfortunately not. I thought this was, she made out like she rearranged it to be a time that he would be there, but unfortunately no, he couldn't be there. But she sits him down and she says, what I'm really worried about. Speaking of insurance, I'm worried about him having this horrible accident. And having no insurance if he gets hurt or dies. And she puts on her best act, and you can immediately, what I like about it is you can immediately see in his face, just his face as she's talking, his whole demeanor changes as soon as she starts on this line. Like he immediately is like, oh, I know exactly what this is.
Yep.
And he kind of strings her along because he says, "Oh, if he died somewhere specific, then he'd get more, and it's about 50,000 if he dies, and and he says, I could sell him on the idea of the accident, the accident insurance,
Yeah, and that's what he explains that double indemnity means, isn't it? Is that
yes,
it's the idea that they pay double if it's from a death that doesn't happen very often, or it's like almost an unexplainable death sort of thing,
yes,
and she's of course delighted by this idea of what, double the pay from a weird death. Okay.
Yeah. And they I love. He says at one point about after she says all of that, he says like, I wonder what this tea would taste like with some rum in it. He's just like immediately like, and then she says, like, I mean, she was pushing her luck anyway with how obvious this was, but then she's like, hey, my husband, he's really awkward. He'll never sign this. Is there any way that I could take out accident/death insurance on my husband without him knowing about it? Maybe I'll just sign it. It's like, sure. Yes. He says, he's like, oh well, I so you want this policy, you want him to have this policy without him knowing it. You want to sign it for him. And he's like, Is that the story? And she's like, yeah, that's it. And she's like, do you disapprove? And he's like, oh no, it's a brilliant idea. And he kind of says, oh well, maybe he could get hit over when you're backing up the car, or he just starts like talking about all of these ridiculous methods in which her husband could accidentally die. And he says, look, I wasn't born yesterday, and there's absolutely no goddamn way. And he's like, hey, you're a good looking dame, and you obviously thought this whole, you completely bamboozle me with this whole act. But he says, I ain't gonna fall for that. She tells him to leave, and he's like, "Yeah, you bet. I'll get out of here, but quick." And of course he immediately just storms right out,
Yeah.
grabbing his hat on the way out, which is a key point later.
Yep.
And again, you get that. Oh, there's something about a suit and a fedora, man. Do you know the silhouette is just like it's timeless. It's a timeless silhouette, you know.
40s sort of suits and hats are just fucking awesome.
Yeah. So earlier, when he was offered the tea, he asked if she had any beer, and he says after this, he's like, "Well, I went for the beer that I wanted, and then I went to do some bowling to give myself some time to think," you know. And
it's the whole idea that, you know, he knows exactly from the minute she opened her mouth.
Oh, he knows this is a shit idea.
But the problem is clearly it's just ringing in his head. He's just turning it over and over as he's, you know, like you said, he's gone bowling to clear his head.
Doesn't he say? He says something like he was still holding on to the red hot poker, like he just couldn't let go.
Yeah.
You know, it's all he can think about now.
Yeah.
You know, as much as he would try to put it out of his mind with bowling, because he also say he was going to go for dinner and a show and stuff, but then he wasn't hungry and didn't want to watch the show and ended up coming back. And of course he ends up like kind of pacing around his room until there's a knock at the door, and obviously it's like 8 o'clock at night or whatever, and he's confused as to who it could be, but of course it's Phyllis, and she says, "Oh, you left your hat earlier," which obviously he did not.
And again, this is the wonderful framing of you know, he opens the door and she's framed in this like pool of light, and you've got her sort of shoulders, you know, square against, and she's just looking up at him, you know, almost shyly, and he's like, "Oh, you forgot your hat," and all this. It's like so, you know, you could almost feel the sort of image of her searing into his brain. You know, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and she says, "Oh, you know, I must have said something that gave you terribly the wrong impression about me, you know, earlier today, and you know, you must believe me. You know, you know, what do you want me to do? You know, well, what can I do to prove it?" And then he's like, "Well, what do you want me to do about it? You know, what do you want me to do?" And she's like, "Be nice to me, you know." And obviously she's just immediately seducing him. And what I like in this scene is you can see he tries to resist. He does try. You know, he does a couple of times, he kind of pushes her hands away and he moves away. But then of course she it's when she goes to the window, isn't it? Because she looks out and it's kind of raining, and then he moves up to her.
The weather is another one of those sorts of things. You know, he gets that. It's slowly, as he's doing that whole, "Oh, I went to this place, I went bowling, I went there." You can feel it getting darker and heavier as going on. And by the time you get to him pacing in his apartment, you know, it's full on raining outside, and you know, all dark and evil, like clouds and everything. You know, you get that wonderful sort of like great sort of almost depression as it's coming down. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So she asks him ultimately, she's like, "Look, do you want me to go?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, you could do." And so she starts to walk away, and for a minute I think she actually believes that he's getting rid of her, because he's been pretty stern with his face up until this point. But of course he grabs her and ends up kissing her. She then says, "Oh, you know, I'm crazy about you, you know," and he says, "Oh, I'm crazy about you, baby," and asks what perfume is in her hair and whatnot.
And she sort of, you know, blase says, "Oh, I don't know. I just something I picked up, sort of thing." It's, you know, just a thing. You know, it's not important. Of course, she knows what she's done. She's, you know, she's got everything, you know, down. She knows what she's doing.
Because he says, "Oh, we should have some champagne," and she's like, "Bourbon's fine," you know. and so he makes, goes pours her drinks. But yeah, the two of them together are so good in these scenes. And some of the shots, particularly of her, the framing of her, is amazing in this movie. I mean, she's drop dead gorgeous, obviously, but the framing of the shots.
Barbara Stanwyck was another was in a similar vein. She mostly played, sweetish romantic roles up until this point.
Yeah,
and she was also sort of a bit apprehensive about playing a sort of this sort of femme fatale role, and eventually she was Wilder persuaded her. Was like, he sort of basically told her to sort of man up. Why are you a mouse or a great actress? And she was like convinced. And I think for her, she was then afterwards sort of kind of pigeonholed as the sort of strong woman, which I think she not exactly regretted, but I think she did it did mean that she probably couldn't play roles that were softer anymore. She was now this really hard, and she did go on to play these wonderful sort of strong sort of confident women, and even when she got to like TV stuff that she did much later, she was the matriarch of like there was a Dallas spin-off she was in. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, really?
There was a I can't remember what it was called now. Was it which one was it? I can't bloody remember. I can't find it. But yeah, she's played these amazing, got a lot of really good westerns as well, where she plays sort of really really tough women, and like you said, the way every sort of light pulls around her, and she's almost square on in a lot of these things, and you can just see the calculation in behind her eyes, but also the sort of the slight deadness of it. She has that sort of. Well, she's got that look of a psycho,
she really does. Yeah.
She's got that look of almost like she's having fun with. She's like cat playing with its food, sort of thing. That sort of like dead. But I do like.
But that's the thing. So I do like that she's not just dead. You can see that she's calculating all the time. Like you can see her cogs, the gears turning as she forms these plans.
And there's one or two sort of moments where there's panic, and she's like, "Oh, this is going wrong. This is not quite working out right." But she always comes back. She always managed to sort of like compose herself and comes back.
Yeah. So she ends up they end up having a drink, and she discusses he kind of brings up like her husband and how they met and whatnot. And she says, he was like, you married him for the money, right? And she's like, well, I wanted money, why not? But also I was his wife's carer, and when his wife died, he was really broken up, and he was really vulnerable, and I kind of fell in love with him because of that. But and he's like, well, but now you hate him, and she's like, yeah, he's really mean to me. He's changed. He's not the person that she thought. He says, like, she says, oh, every time I buy a dress, he yells his head off at me. He's always been mean to me.
Yeah. And she says when he hits me when he gets drunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she says, I don't care if the money goes to me. It could go to his daughter. Could all go to his daughter as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter. But yeah, she lays it on thick, and it works. And she says, sometimes I wish he was dead, and of course Neff's like, only sometimes.
Yeah.
And she tells this story about how he came into the garage the other night drunk, and he obviously passed out at the wheel in the garage with the engine running. And she wondered what would happen if she just closed the doors and didn't switch it off. And he says, hey, if you'd have tried that with us, there's a guy called Keys in our office, and he within 10 minutes would have known what was going on, and he'd have you signing a confession in no time. Like you'd be done. There's no way. He's like, you know, they know all the tricks. They've played this game so many times with so many people. You would never get away with it. But of course she continues to try her luck. He ultimately tells her to stop thinking about it. And then we get the narration saying, "Oh, we just sat there. She was crying, and it was crying as the rain fell down outside." And yeah, so he basically is. This is one of the times it cuts back to him in the office trying to recount exactly what happened. And he says, you know, for most of your career, all of your career, you're on the other side of that fence. But then he kind of makes out like everyone in that business at some stage thinks about how you do it. How would you get away with it? You know.
And I think that's probably true as well.
Oh no, I totally would, wouldn't you? You would just naturally just think like, oh, I wonder how I could do that to where it would work. You know. And he says, you know, the stakes are $50,000, which at the time they think is probably the maximum, and the life of a man, you know, and he kind of questions whether he'd be willing to go that far. But yeah, so you know, it cuts back to her basically getting ready to leave. She asks if he'll phone, and before she goes, she really lays it in. She's like, you know, I hate him. I can't stand him. You know, and she kind of kisses him, and she says she can't stand it anymore. And she's like, well, you know, like fuck it. What if they did hang me? Like maybe that's the better way to go. You know. And finally, he kind of relents. He's obviously been thinking this through while they've been together. And he says, "You're not gonna hang. You know, he's gonna hang. We're gonna do this perfect. There will be no mess up, no sloppiness, no mess ups. We'll execute this perfectly. You know, I'm gonna help you execute the perfect plan. You know, there's nothing. Nothing will come back on you. We'll get the money, and we'll get rid of this monster of a man." And he says, you know, you just go back, act normal, and watch your step. Everything needs to be straight down the line. Everything needs to be perfect from now on. You cannot fuck about. But what I love is when he closes the door, you can see in his eyes that he doesn't buy her story about hating her.
No.
Like he knows. He goddamn knows she's lying.
Yep.
But he's completely besotted. Like he's completely like he's like as he says, like he's holding that red hot poker. Like he's off the rails already. You know, it's too late.
Yeah, he knows he's not an idiot. He knows exactly.
He's really intelligent. He knows exactly what she's doing.
He clearly made her, but his obsession is just overpowering him. It's just, you know, she's too much of a woman for him. He cannot resist her.
No, and as he says in his monologue, he says like, because he says it when she's leaving, because he looks out the window as she leaves, and he says that was it, Keys. The machinery had started. You know, the engine had started. There was no stopping it. It was too late. And he started thinking about all the questions that were going to come out. He starts preempting all of the things that will come out when he's dead, and how exactly to approach, you know, everything. And he even says that the mention of the daughter actually gave him pause. That was the moment where the guilt kind of hit him during that conversation. And it then cuts to him back at their house, finally getting the car insurance sorted. And we see, is it Lola, the daughter? Lola?
Yeah, and he explains that they needed to have like a separate witness, and they needed to,
Yes.
and it's she gets the, she brings the daughter in as a witness, and he says basically again, I wasn't happy with the witness.
No.
I didn't want it to be her, but there's not much you could do about it. After that, it was a case of fine, you just had to deal with it.
Yeah. So he's trying to get this car insurance sorted. And we see Lola says, oh, she's bored of playing board games, and she wants to go and meet Annie Matthews to go roller skating. That's what she's gonna do. And immediately, Tom Powers, the husband, says, "Oh no, it's not that bloody Zacchetti guy." And she says, "No, it's Anne. I told you already. It's not him." And she says, "Yeah, we're just going roller skating. I've already told you, And she says where they're going to meet and everything. So she's like super specific, and then she's like, "In case you're interested, I'm already late." And she does apologize to Neff on the way out. She says, "Sorry, Mr. Neff," and wanders out. And so he gets down to the point with the car insurance, and you can tell they're trying to distract him the whole time, because it comes down to the signing of the paper, and as soon as he's got the piece in his hand, and he goes to grab the paper, which obviously would reveal the paper underneath. They immediately start questioning him and just kind of distracting him.
And
he puts his glasses on.
He looks like he's about to read it, doesn't he? He looks like he's
going to
go through
and they immediately distract him. Yeah. And then of course,
it's like they're basically they're annoying him to get him to just sort of
to get this over with faster, not pay attention.
Yes, he just sort of goes, "Oh, for God's sake, just let me sign it, and you can get out of here," sort of thing.
But then he pulls the page up slightly to reveal another signature. And he says, another one? And he's like, "Oh, yeah, we need copies. And he doesn't even look at that page at all. He just signs that page. And that's that. The deed is done. He has now effectively signed for this insurance.
Yeah, he's basically signed his death warrant.
Yeah. And you get that great shot of Tom going up the stairs. And Neff and Phyllis walking out, and Phyllis grabs his hat, and it looks like they're leaving as a couple. He's going up to bed by himself. It's just great symbology. It's a really, really well shot scene. And then of course we get the double indemnity. They get outside, and he reminds her, "Hey, double indemnity. What if he died, for instance, on a train? They'd pay 100,000 instead of 50." And he says, he's like, "Baby, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna hit the jackpot. If I'm gonna ruin my life, then I'm gonna do it for all the money." And of course, she is thrilled. She is absolutely thrilled. So as Neff is leaving, he walks down and gets to his car, and then Lola calls him. She is in his car waiting already. And he says, "Is there something wrong?" And she says, "Oh no, I've been waiting for you. I thought you might give me a ride." And so of course, he does. And it quickly becomes clear that she's not going to meet Anne. She is going to meet this guy. It's young love. I should also say that Tom does come across like a bit of a dick. I was going to say that was in my notes. Like, I don't know that he deserves death, but he does seem like a bit of a twat. It does take the edge off when you actually meet him, because you're like, what if he's a really sweet old man? But he's not. He's a bit of a dick. So you're like,
no, but he doesn't. But he doesn't come across as like nasty or anything.
No. Like, all of the accusations are completely spurious. There's no evidence that he is the monster she makes out, but he is a bit of a dick. Is what
he's just a bit of a grumpy old dude. That's all. That he's obviously older than her. He's older than Phyllis, and he's clearly a one of those sort of busy business guys and who doesn't really take shit to a certain degree. And yeah, he just comes across as just a bit of a knob. That's all.
Yeah. So in the car, Lola explains that she says she's having a tough time and that her father doesn't understand her, and that Phyllis hates her. And,
I like that she explains about Nino as well, and she says that he was studying. I can't remember was he studying to be a doctor or something, or a lawyer or something. He was studying something, but then he sort of fell behind on his
flunked, right?
On his thing, so he flunked out, and then he was working a job, but he lost that because he took back. And you think, okay,
didn't he become an usher or something? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh well, this guy's a real winner then.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you see him, you're like, yep.
Yeah, he's a bit of a punk, isn't he?
Yeah. Because we see him on the he's stood on the street corner smoking,
Yeah, leaning in the street on the street corner. You think, yeah, okay, somebody's trying too hard.
And he immediately hates Neff on sight. He's like, you're in the car with another man. Who the fuck is this man?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be fair, you would though, wouldn't you? This guy turns up that you don't know with your girlfriend, and you're like, who the fuck are you?
Well, and she is meant to be pretty young, right?
Yeah, I think she looks.
I guess
older.
teenage.
I think there's that she's the one that the thing that I thought was quite funny is when you see the first initial picture of her when Neff's walking around the living room sort of thing. She looks really much older on that picture. That's not a flattering picture at all. When you actually see her, you think, oh no, she is younger than.
She is. She's Hollywood young. She's Hollywood.
Yeah,
young.
She's Hollywood young, but I think she's supposed to be younger than she is as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. America's always kind of done that anyway, hasn't it? For the most part. Yeah. It's always cast a little older, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he lets her go off, and I'm sure that's the last we'll see of him.
Yeah. Yeah, he sort of stroppily goes off, doesn't he? And, and she has to sort of run to catch up with him.
Yeah. So we get the monologue again, and he explains that now the wheels were in motion, they couldn't meet. She couldn't come to his house or at the office. They couldn't be seen to be meeting up because it would be too obvious. And he said, it's something like, she was on the market at 11 o'clock. That's the one time they could have that moment to talk.
Yeah.
And just a couple of seconds to plan. And he says, says to her in the supermarket, he's like, the plan's all going through. It's all good. He thought he was paying car insurance. It's all sorted because obviously he couldn't talk to her after I had to pretty much just leave. So they're kind of catching up now. He tells her to open her bag, doesn't he? And he puts a note in there. And he says, you'll need to take the insurance thing to, take the policy to a lockbox or something,
Yeah.
And he says, you need to arrange for him on this date to go on the train. Can't drive because she says he drives everywhere basically, and he's like, no, he has to get the train. You'll have to figure out a way on this date of him getting the train. She says, well, he's broken his leg. He fell and broke his leg.
That comes later, doesn't it? With the call, she calls him later and says that he's broke his leg, so that he's.
Is that? No, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
At this point, there's still just a normal sort of. He's going to where
they're talking about how they can make him get the train rather than drive effectively.
Yeah.
What I really like about it though as well is again, just for the time period, you usually get the dialogue between the two characters uninterrupted. What I like about this is it's in a shop and you do get shoppers coming through and bugging them as they're talking. Like you get the woman's like, oh, can you reach the baby food for me? And you get the other woman who kind of barges in to grab a tin or a jar or something. It just feels a lot more natural.
And I like the old lady's like, why is everything I want is always on the top shelf?
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm 5'6". I understand. I feel your pain. Um, but yes, so as you said, she calls and says about his broken leg, and
Yeah.
Neff says, for a minute he considers that maybe this is God giving him an out.
Yeah.
He's broken his leg, and now it looks dodgy because he hasn't claimed on the accident insurance, right? Which is what it's there for. And he's like, maybe God has given me a way out, but of course, no. he's not going to do that. Even if God is giving him an out, he's not gonna take it. But Keys comes in, and he says, "Oh, we've just been he's just come from the meeting, hasn't he? The big meeting." And he says, okay, he says he's like, "How would you like a $50 pay cut?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the thing of Nev is basically their top salesman, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
So he's sort of happy in his job. For him, he's almost the best he can do.
Yeah, but he's basically saying, hey, you could have this job,
Yeah.
And he's like, he needs someone in that role that's got integrity and honesty, and all of the things that Keys kind of is himself. He's like, I need someone like me in this role.
Yeah.
Someone he can trust, and you can see that Keys and Neff clearly have a friendship outside of this office, or at least they have a deep trust of each other. They really care for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the impression because he says to him basically he wants an assistant, and he thinks that he's the only one that can
that could be trusted. Yeah.
And they've got that sort of that joshing camaraderie that you get with those sort of with that sort of it's not it's as he says when he basically says that he doesn't want the job, and you can see that he's a little pained that he sort of turned him down. And I like he says to him, he says, I didn't offer you the job because I thought you were a clever mind. He says, I just thought everybody else was stupider.
Yeah. So he gets the call in the office, and of course he has to pretend because Keys is there's someone else. I think he uses the word Margie is the name. Margie.
Yeah.
He calls her Margie. He's like, oh yes, hi Margie, I'm listening. And she says, oh, I had to call you. There was no other way. He's getting the train tonight. Like, had to tell you. And she said, oh, he's on crutches. And so the doctor said to be careful. And she's, of course, she's delighted. She's just like, crutches just makes it even better, doesn't it? It makes it even easier, doesn't it? Of course, Neff, I think, is thinking like, it's kind of weird claim though. It's kind of an issue already.
Yep.
Because he like you said, he's played this game so many times with people.
Yeah.
He knows how obvious this looks.
Mm-hmm.
But she says, what's he gonna, where's he gonna, what time are we gonna meet, or how many times are you gonna honk the horn, and that kind of sort of stuff.
He sort of asks her what color he's gonna be, what suit he's
color, and he has to be very careful. That's the great thing about this scene, is because Keys is right next to him when he's having this conversation.
Yeah, and
so his answers have to be very clear.
Yeah, and he even tries to get rid of Keys, and Keys is like, no, I'll just wait for you to finish your phone call. I'll just wait here, and you're like, fuck it hell.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember, what does he say about Margie? Keys says something about Margie the whole way through. He's like, I bet she does something. What does he say?
Oh, I can't remember what he says now, but I know what you mean, yeah.
It made me laugh because he kept saying it the whole way through the movie. I just can't remember. It'll come back to me at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so he gives him some advice about Margie, as he says it is. But yeah, ultimately, as you said, he rejects the job offer. And so Keys finally heads off. I love that phone call exchange with Keys right there. Fantastic. Really, really good.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. So he then starts the monologue then takes over again, and he starts saying, like, he started thinking he had to account for all of his movements from this point on. He had to leave the office at a specific time. He had to be very clear about where he was going. Make sure he drove home at the right time. Establish an alibi.
He sets up all the sort of people that he needs to speak to, all the people that sees him. He says he phones the office to get some information about some paperwork to one of his guys. He sets he takes his car to the sort of the valet of the building and says,
he's going to be in all night, and
just wash the car and make sure it's all going to be fine for tomorrow, all that sort of stuff. And then he says, then I basically went upstairs. I got the blue suit. I got the
changed into the suit. I
got something that could a piece of cloth I could wrap around my foot so that it looks like I had a cast on. And then he sets up he sets up the cards on the phone so that if he can see that he sets up so that the puts a piece of card between the bell so that if it rings, it will fall out.
He'll know people have been there. He'll know what's going on. Yeah.
And like I said, he made sure he made a phone call to his office so that because he knows that those phone calls are logged.
Yeah. So that, he walks rather than get the bus because he says, "I don't want to get the bus. Someone might see me." He walks. Yeah. He's as careful as he can as he approaches the house. Heads into the garage and gets in the sedan in the back seat.
And again, you get these wonderful the shadow work and of this movie. It's so wonderful. Him just sort of sneaking through into the garage, and him settling in the back of the car. Yeah, just waiting for Phyllis to turn up.
Yeah, and of course she does with Tom in tow. Tom has indeed broken his leg, is in a cast, and he is struggling to get anywhere. So of course she is going to drive him to the train station.
Yeah, and he's being a grouch again. He's all sort of grouchy about it, and he's
look at his leg. I can kind of understand the grouchy.
And he sees it's not unreasonable about him and stuff. And she says, wait there, I'll go and get the car. And of course, so she goes to the garage and she sort of looks down and sees. You get that wonderful shot of her looking down at him. Again, it's that whole idea of she's over him again because he's down below looking up at her, and he's there just sort of. And she's almost it's almost a grin that she has as she looks down at him. It's like everything is going to plan. This is just perfect.
Yeah.
She drives the car around to sort of her husband, and he's there with the crutches. And you think normally, wouldn't you have, if you were on the crutches and you were about to get in your car, you probably put the crutches on the back seat?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah,
but he doesn't, and that was the one thing that I was looking at that and thought, no, he'd probably put that in, and then he'd open the door and see him let this guy led in the back of his car, but obviously he doesn't. He actually climbs in to the front seat with the crutches, which looks a bit weird, but it's like it's fine. It's okay. We'll let it pass. Yeah.
They have some conversation about him. She says, remember what the doctor said, dear? You need to be careful with that leg. You can't, you'll end up with one shorter than the other, and small talk.
And was it? He says something along the lines of, "It's okay. I'll break the other one to make them even."
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But ultimately, he's like, hey, well, here's the he's like, hey, this isn't the it's the wrong turning, right? He's like, hey, wait a minute, this is
planned to drive down this dark alley, basically, isn't it, with this dark road and you get it's that with the lighting and stuff, you get that wonderful. It's just on her. Yeah, the camera's just on her sort of lit face as she's driving along. and then you just hear the movement
You
and hear him struggling.
That's what I love about it. You hear the sound, and it's
Yeah.
just a shot of her face the whole time.
Yeah.
And she is delighted. She don't give a
Yeah.
fuck. There's no remorse in those eyes at all.
No. She's completely calculating and
Yep. 100%.
Absolutely happy with what's going on. She's it's all going perfectly for her.
Yes. Yeah. So they pull up at the train station, and Tom gets out of the car with his crutches. Of course, Phyllis goes in the back and covers the body with a coat or something. I think it's her coat.
Yeah, I think it's her coat. She covers him.
Yeah. And because of course she's got to see her husband off, right? Has to all be perfect. Nothing suspicious. So of course she helps with his bags. He waits there.
Because they have to make sure that the sort of
anyone that sees them needs to recount
the ticket attendant needs to see that he was there,
yes,
as a husband and not
not by himself
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They need to sort of set up their alibi sort of thing.
Yeah, and I love as they're walking, he's like, hey, this is the turning, this is the stop where you need to do it. And he says, like, don't speed, you cannot raise any suspicion, you know. This has to be perfect now, you have to be very careful.
And she sort of she does sort of feel slightly annoyed by him carrying on, like keeping on at her. But he's like, no, you it has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, if you speed, you get pulled over, we're fucked. You've got a body in the back of your car. So you have to just take it easy. Make sure you get, to this by this point, so that we can arrange for the body to be put where it is.
Yes, and then I love that he does some great fedora work hiding his face through this which I love.
Like the way he maneuvers himself so that his back is to sort of the guy, and the way he talks to him is sort of through a lower.
I was going to say, absolutely. I was going to say just before that though, I love when one of the porters offers to help him onto the train, and she says, "Oh no, my husband doesn't like to be helped." She kind of covers for him so that he's not going to have any direct contact with this guy. But yeah, as you said, he then goes into the carriage, and of course there's someone else there. Go on. Sorry.
Well, he goes to the porter, doesn't he? In the port, he says to the porter, "Where's the observation deck and all that sort of stuff?" And he sort of makes sure that the porter knows who he is and that he was there without him properly seeing him and properly getting to talk to him. And then he sort of shuffles off to the observation platform at the back of the train. And I love the way he comes. He opens the door. He stumbles through what I guess is the last car. So maybe I don't know. It's the buffet car or whatever it is. But it's the last. He goes for the last car, and there are a number of people. They don't really look up and sort of take notice of him or anything. But he gets there. He opens the door and he comes out, and you sort of see him relax. And he feels, he starts feeling comfortable. He starts looking, but he hasn't clocked that behind the door to his left there's a guy sat in the corner already smoking. And of course the guy speaks, and he's like, "Oh fuck!"
He's got to answer him because otherwise he's going to look really suspicious.
Yeah. I love this guy. He's like, just will not leave him alone.
No.
He's like, what is it? It's not Harvard. What is it? He says he is. He's a something man, and he keeps going on about how he's
is it Oxford man or something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember what place
it's something like that. Yeah, because he brings it up when he's interviewed later as well.
Yeah, he keeps saying how honest he is and all that sort of stuff.
Oh God, what the bloody hell was it? I'm gonna see if I can find it because he brings it up a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking. I can't bloody find it.
That's so annoying. It will come up later. Yeah. Cannot remember, but anyway, he gets rid of the guy. The guy buggers off eventually.
He says he offers. He says he hasn't got he forgot his cigars, And
Yes.
the guy says, you can make here, have my stuff. You can make yourself a cigarette. And he says, no. He says,
Mm.
I prefer cigars. And
Yeah.
he says, I left them in my cabin. He says,
Mm.
I'll get them for you then.
Yeah, he's
It's like,
being nice because this guy has injured his leg and he can't
yeah,
walk, and
perfect. He goes off, gets his cigars from his thing, leaving him alone, and finally he can do what he came to do, and he basically leaps over the side, doesn't he? And it's a
Do you know
fight.
what's? I was going to say, do you know what I love about it as well?
Yeah,
It's one of the shots when you watch this movie with modern eyes.
yeah.
It's one of the shots when he jumps off the back of the train. It's one of the shots where you're like, yeah, that didn't really look very convincing. That train looked like it was moving real slow. Turns out, a couple of scenes later, no, the train was running real slow. That's part of the plot. I really liked that. I was like, oh, that's great. Actually, actually, it is really way too slow for him to have done the injury that he's supposedly done.
But he does land awkwardly. It doesn't.
Oh no, he does. Like it will hurt you, but it does look. No, this was back in the day with when stuntmen had to do real stunts, and it's like stuntman probably did break his arm or something falling off that train. But yeah, so of course he meets with Phyllis, and they put the body on the tracks with the hat and the cane and the walking crutches, and off they head to their car, and job done, as it were.
Well, I like there's again you get these wonderful little things. He's looking at, he jumps over, he's looking around, and you see the car's headlights come on.
Yeah.
Saying where she is, and they get in. They set it up. They get in the car, and then the car doesn't start. There's that.
You get that great minute of the car faltering. Yeah.
Brief moment of panic, even in her eyes, where she's desperately trying to start the car, and it won't start.
Well, there's no way to explain that away. Like, your husband's dead and the car just happened to be opposite. Like
10 feet away, there's a dead husband on the tracks, and your car doesn't start. That's not good.
No. But of course he has the magic touch. He gets it started eventually. But it is a great moment of like, oh shit. We may be in trouble here. But yeah, so he says that on the way back, all they did was talk about the next steps. Where she was that night, the insurance stuff, all of the all of the things they need to account for going forward. And of course she drops him at his apartment, which I thought was a bit of a mistake, but whatever. By this point, he's so beside, because he was so careful getting there, but on the way back. But what I kind of like about it is it just shows that whenever he's in her presence, he just fucking loses his mind and just does not think straight.
He's a smart man that just loses all cognitive thought whenever she's around him.
And it's great because that's not one of the things that catches them out. It's just a nice little thing to show, like, he was so careful in his way up, but as soon as he's with her on the way back, nope. So of course he gets in, he checks the cards, no one rang, no one, buzzed. All good on that front. Basically, it's gone as smoothly as it could have gone at this point. And then of course he heads down to the mechanic. What would you call that man who maintains cars in car park?
I think he's like the valet, isn't he? I think
a valet. Thank you. I was trying desperately to think of the bloody word. Thank you.
I think he's the building's valet.
Yeah. And of course he makes a point of walking back down there because he's like, oh, if I'm going to be seen to leave, I must leave via them so they know that I'm leaving, And yeah, so he says he's going for a walk.
Yeah, well, I think he says the car's not ready yet. He hasn't washed the car properly, finished washing the car, and I think he says that he's hungry, so he's going to go off and get something to eat or something.
Yes, and he talks about the Walk of the Dead man, and he keeps thinking he hears footsteps. He's like, he's getting real paranoid as he walks down the street. Yeah. And it cuts back to him in the present time, and he starts talking about how, like, the following day he started investigating, and he started to get immediately kind of like nervous, internally at least nervous, about the whole thing. And we then see that day he comes in, and immediately Keyes comes up to him and says, "Oh, the big boss wants to see us." And he's like, "Oh, well, what for?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that Diedrichson guy, he's dead. Like, died of a broken neck." And he said, when's the inquest? And he's like, "Oh, they had it this morning." And basically the alibi is held up. It basically, so far.
Yeah.
Even Keyes doesn't suspect anything yet.
No,
right now.
At this point, it all seems above board to everybody. At this point.
Yeah. And of course, they go to see the president of the company, and the president's like, "Now, fuck this! He must be pulling a scam, or we must be doing something. It must be something."
Well, of
course, you'd expect him to say that, because he just wants to not give the money out. That's
it.
Part of
the boss is coming from the angle of, it's a lot of money.
We don't want to pay out. Yeah, I want an excuse to not pay. Yeah.
So he's not really thinking that it's wrong.
No,
he's just thinking of how we can move it,
how to get out of it.
Yeah, and of course, Neff is sort of, he's not panicking, but you can see it in his face that he's like,
he looks nervous. Yeah,
there's some suspicion here, and I think he's at first.
But what I like is that it gives Keyes the idea to start investigating.
Yeah.
Even though the president's talking shit.
Because I think if this wouldn't have happened, Keyes would probably have not bothered.
Just accepted it. He's gone through inquest, and it was, it was a fucking train death.
Yeah.
But it's the president's lie. The president's trying to weasel out of it that really sets him on this path.
I do like it. Again, the Keyes' appearance comes up, because the boss says to him, "Do you find it unusually warm today?" or something, and he's like, "Oh," he says, "Well, if I knew it was formal, I would have put a jacket on," sort of thing. I just thought I was coming in,
You work for a fucking high-end insurance company. I'm pretty sure suits are part of the deal.
Yeah.
Especially considering this is an era where people routinely wore suits anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you'd look scruffy on the street dressed like that, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he tries to go at Neff for signing the guy to the deal, and Keyes is like, "Well, you gonna have a go at a salesman for being good at his job? Like, what the fuck?"
It's like he did exactly what he's supposed to. He sold someone insurance that they didn't really want.
But, he didn't know he was gonna die.
Yeah. And basically you get this sort of feeling that Neff is like, fucking hell, that somehow I'm going to be implicated here. It's all going to go horribly, horribly wrong. And he's like, no, I'm going to bring her in, and we're going to tell her, I understand. I know exactly what's happened here. I know exactly what's wrong. So of course, then you get, Phyllis comes in
with the shawl, with the
she's got the little pill hat and the veil. Looking immaculate. And
he says, I extend our condolences and whatnot. Kind of gets all the niceties out of the way.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, you'll probably know that Mr. Dickerson had a policy with us," and she said, "Oh, I don't know. It's probably in the lockbox. No. We haven't opened it yet. We haven't opened the lockbox yet." And the president says, is ruled accidental death, but we're not sure. We suspect a suicide.
Yeah.
And of course, I love the build to that, because Neff thinks he's going to say murder.
Yeah, that's it. That's the great little thing, because the way the boss is he's doing this whole bloody Poirot bit, isn't he? He's doing that whole, like, I know exactly what happened here. Yeah. I can see all the things. I can see all the things that was happening, and you can just feel this tension, and you do get that there's a sort of slight glance between Neff and Phyllis, as not just like a sideways glance, and they're both looking sort of worried.
Mm.
And then when he says suicide, like it's almost a relief for Neff. Neff's like, "Oh, good, he's an idiot." It's like, it's like no, he doesn't know at all. Fuck for that, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, Phyllis is completely in actress mode. She's like, "How dare you," sort of thing. You bring me in here and you tell me about a policy I don't even know about, and
Yeah.
then you tell me that my husband committed suicide. Well, I never, you know, and you know, she does the full get up and flanks out of the
Dare
office. You know?
you?
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
it's brilliant. And of course, he looks like a complete knob. He's there, like he doesn't understand what's happened. The boss is like, but you know, I'm right. This is isn't this true? It's like, you know, completely taken aback by her sort of, you know, her response to him. It's funny, and even Key's like,
I was going to say, I really like that he says, you know, I suggest we come to some kind of settlement, like a part payment or whatever. And she's like, you can keep all the money. Like, I didn't even know he had a policy. You brought me here to telling me that I didn't even know he had a policy. Then you brought me here to talk about the policy. Then you say that he's owed all this money. Now you're saying you can't have all this money. And she's like, you know, I can't believe you're making this insinuation at a time like this, you know. You know, she really lays it on thick. She's like, she's outraged that they're even asking. And of course, she slams the door, and you can see she 100% sunk this president. He believes every goddamn. He believes her now. He buys it. He buys that she had. If it was suicide or murder, she had no idea as far as that president's concerned. He is rattled by her.
Yeah, and even at this point, at this specific point, Keyes is like, "Yeah, you're a fuckwit." You know, he doesn't say that to him, but you can tell that that's what he thinks of his boss. He's like, "Yeah, that went really well, didn't it?" You know, you get that sort of like for Keyes, it almost feels like, well, if you know, if it wasn't suspicious to me, how you thought it was suspicious, I don't know. You know, you at this point. Neff is like, oh, this is perfect. This is, you know.
Well, and one of the things Keyes is certain of is that it's not suicide. He's like, we've got 10 books on suicide. We study suicide for all different types of suicide. This does not match suicide. There's no way.
Yeah. And I like the way the list of how he goes through all the sort of ways that people, you know, commit suicide and what. Which sections are which, and that one goes on that one, and how they do this, and how that it's a lovely little speech he gives about, you know. And the one thing they don't do is they don't throw themselves off of trains.
Well, no, and he also adds to that he's like, hey, do you know how fast that train was moving? 15 miles an hour. You wouldn't try to commit suicide jumping off a train at 15 miles an hour. So it's like, it's too slow to be a suicide. The train was moving too slow to guarantee suicide, which again points to an accident, which is great. Like, it works. It really works. But I love as well, he has to drink the water afterwards. He just takes a big drink of water because he's like just gone off on the president for like 10 minutes.
And I love it because he's all sort of pompous and stuff, and he throws back this glass of water. And you can see that he's struggling with it. It starts dripping. It's going down his tie and it's going down his shirt. And he just hands it back to them and he walks out. And then once they're sort of out and they've shut the door and they're away from him, he like brushes himself down and sort of composes himself.
Oh, I also love that as he's leaving, he's like, next time, rent a tuxedo.
Yes.
So
Edward
good.
G. Robinson again. Edward G. At this point in his career, Edward G. Robinson was like, he was huge. He was like, you know, he was commanding really big sums of money, and Wilder wanted him for this role, and of course the company were like, fuck no. He's like, at this point there are 3 reasons why you can't have him. 1, he's bloody difficult to work with because he had a reputation for being a difficult, you know, guy. 2, he's way too expensive. It was too expensive. He was difficult to work with. What was the bloody third one? Now I've completely thrown myself off. Oh god damn it! Um,
It'll come to you in a minute.
yeah.
Um,
So basically, but basically, they, you know, they, so they said no anyway, and Wilder approached him himself, and he said, "Look, I got this role for you. I really want you to have it." He said, "Read the script and see what you think." So Robinson read the script, and what he came back and said, "That's probably one of the best scripts I've ever
yeah.
read." He said, "I'll take the thing." He says, "And I will take a pay cut." So he took a pay cut to
Mm.
take the role, which is amazing. And he was so convinced that that it was the right role for him that
Yeah.
he took the pay cut just to do this role, he's fucking perfect for this role.
Oh, he's
He's unbelievably
fantastic.
great. Yeah,
Really, really good. So Neff heads back to his apartment, and he called there by Phyllis, who calls from the pharmacy, I think it is, or drugstore just down the road.
yeah,
He says, "Hey, everything went perfect. You were brilliant in the office. You know, they bought it completely. You know, job well done." And she then says, "Hey, can I come up and see you? I'll be super careful that no one sees me. You know, I'll be really, really careful." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, but just be super careful." And no sooner than he puts down the phone, that the door, someone knocks at the door.
yeah,
And so he's like kind of puzzled. He opens the door, and of course it's Keys.
yeah,
Who he's like, "Oh shit," because now she's coming. He's here, and he's like, "Do you know what just really bugging me? It's like he's on crutches, right? He broke his foot." And he's like, "Yeah. So what's your point?" And he's like, "Well, he had accident insurance. He didn't claim for the broken leg."
yeah.
And so he's now. You can see that the president planted that seed, and he's starting
Yeah.
to dig now. He's starting to dig.
Yeah. The little man took notice. The little man started twisting his
Yeah.
stomach.
Well, yeah, because he starts talking about it, and then he keeps talking. He's like, "Have you got any bicarb soda?" like
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Like you can see he's starting to go. And he says, "His stomach's never felt me before." And he said, "Oh, you know, I thought he was ruled this is probably a suicide." And he said, "No, not suicide." And then Keith says, "Hey, if a guy takes out a policy." And like a week later, he dies on in a train accident, which is like double indemnity. It's $100,000.
yeah,
There's something suspicious going on here. And then add to that the broken leg as well. It's just too much. It's too much. And Neff can see it's all over Neff's face in this scene. He's like, shit. Like, because he knows his friend. He knows how good he is at this stuff.
yeah.
And he says, he suspects this murder. Meanwhile, Phyllis, of course, comes up. Luckily, they're talking loud enough that she hears.
Yeah,
Because she almost rings the bell.
That's the good thing about Keys is he's not quiet.
Yeah, that would have been the end of them right there if he was quiet.
Oh, I remembered what the third thing was for
Go on.
Robinson. It was because at that point he was box office poison. He just had a number of failures. He just had a number of box office failures. So that was the third reason why they didn't want him, because they just thought, oh no, he's poison. There's no way we want him involved in our movie. So no.
We then cut to I think probably the best the best filmed shot of this movie, the door scene. It's fucking love. Yeah. Oh my god, it's so well done. The shot is so well framed. The tension is like massive. I adore this shot. So
and it's a good job that the front door opens outwards, isn't it?
Yes. So of course Keys bursting out of the door. She hides behind it as it opens. Yeah. He Neff kind of stands in front of the door, and she kind of grabs the back of his kind of tugs on the back of his suit to let him know that she's there, right?
Yeah, I think he's got his hand on the. So he comes out and he's in the doorway.
He's got his hand on the frame, maybe. Yeah.
I think he's got his hand on either on the door or on the thing, and I think she sort of like she moves the door so that he.
Oh, that's right. She moves the door to make it clear. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's so goddamn tense because Keys is still talking, about how it's probably a murder, and then he starts to leave.
He's heading for the lift, isn't he? But he keeps coming back.
Well, he wants a light for his cigar, so he comes back for that, and of course Neff has to angle the door because he's coming from a different angle now, so he kind of pushes the door back further to kind of hide her further. It's such a good shot. It's so tense. It's fantastic.
It's
brilliant. And then of course Neff says to her, like, he's a fucking bloodhound. He is gonna hunt us down now. He's gonna get to the bottom of this. Like, we're in trouble. Like, we have to be so careful, because once he's got the scent of blood, that's it. He's gonna keep on.
Yeah.
But the next day, it's not Keys, it's Lola, who turns up in his office, wanting to talk to him. And so he takes her to an office. I think it's his office, but it's like a shared office, right? And he asks
my guess is it's a sort of a shared like interview room or something.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a guy already in there, and he
that's right.
He asks sort of like if he can have the room on his own, sort of thing, and the guy leaves.
And of course Lola bursts into tears, and she says, I have this feeling, and I haven't had this feeling since my mum died. And she explains that, her mum, it was winter, and she was ill, and she was meant to be covered up and kept warm, but the nurse, she believes, the nurse didn't cover her up, and of course she got sick, and 2 days later,
it's the way she describes the room as well, as she came up to the room, and she came in, and all the windows were open, and there was like sort of thing, and she says that she was completely uncovered and shivering, and there was no sign of anybody else in the room, and then she says, "Was it who that nurse was? The nurse came to the door, and she just stood and she stared, and she said, I know that the evil in those eyes, sort of thing." And she says, "You know who the nurse was?" And he's like, "No, who was the nurse?" It's like, really? You don't know who the nurse was?
You fucking do know. You definitely fucking know. As soon as she said about the look in her eyes, you fucking knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she says Phyllis was the nurse, and
and she says, "What do you know what she was doing 2 days before my father fell off the train? She was trying on a black hat to see how it looked with a veil." She was like, yeah.
And the thing is, this is the sort of, I think this is the point where you can see in Neff's eyes that it's like, oh God,
she's fucking pathological.
I am a fucking sucker, because this isn't just one of those random first things. She's done this before. She's I'm fucked. Again, it's that whole levels of fucked, and now he knows he's really fucked. Yeah.
Because he knows she's fucking right. She's right about all of this. I love the only thing he can think to come back with is, "You don't like your stepmother, do you? Because she's your stepmother." Yes. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, any chance you could say that with a bit more conviction?
Yeah. And she says she's not gonna go home anymore. And he says, "Oh, you're gonna go meet with that guy," and she says, "Oh no, I'm not with that guy anymore. We split up." So he ends up taking her out for food. Lola, that is. And he says he wanted to cheer her up. I mean, he obviously starts feeling guilty. He killed this poor girl's father, And he says, after about a day, the day of it, she was starting to even smile a little bit. He'd actually helped. But of course, back of his mind, he's just thinking, like, he is now thinking, "Oh shit, I have to do everything I can to at least make myself look innocent here." like whatever happens, and by helping Lola, of course, he's making himself look less suspicious. But of course he's called to Key's office, and when he gets back and he spots the person outside the office, it is the guy from the train.
Yeah. And I like
of course he
again, we come in and when we come in, Neff's on his couch, isn't he? He's like let out.
Keys,
yeah. Sorry, Keys. Sorry, not yet. And I like the way he's going through his process, isn't he? He's going through all the things, and he says to Neff about how it's like, he says it came to me last night. He basically says she was never on the train.
Yeah.
It's that he was never. Sorry, he was never on the train. There was there's somebody else involved, and we need to find that person, and all this. That's why I got this witness in the train, and Neff's, you see on Neff's face, it's like, oh fuck, he's got him again. He thinks, bollocks, this is just,
he's too good.
Every time he thinks he's sort of doing well, it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, he's too good. Keys is just too good. And yeah, he says, that's it. They put him on the tracks beforehand. And he says, yeah. So he says, like, it was the wife. It must have been somebody else, and the wife did it.
Yeah.
Someone put the crutches on, pretended to be him, and jumped off the train when no one was looking. And he says, well, one of the people that saw him, we've got here. And of course, he brings in Mr. Jackson, I think he's called.
It's that thing he says, it's Medford. He's a Medford.
Oh, Medford! Man. Thank you. I was trying to. Yeah, I
Medford,
could not
Oregon,
fucking.
He says.
Yeah.
They all say what they mean in Medford.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of things. He's like, oh, Medford, man, we take our time.
Yeah.
Making our mind up, and we it's like everyone from Medford is perfect.
Yeah, and he says, yeah, you're in New York now, so get on with it.
Yeah. And he looks at a picture of Tom, and he's like, "That's not the guy I saw on the train. That's not him."
He says, "Is this all the pictures of him?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "Well," he says, "I'm sure because this guy's older." And he says, "Well, how old was he?" And Keys is just there. Keys just comes straight out with. He says, he's like the paperwork said 53 or something.
Yeah, and he says, he's at least 10, 15 years younger than that.
Yeah.
He said the man I saw was nothing like 51. Nothing like it. And you got that really tense moment where Keys introduces him to Neff as well, and they shake hands. And Neff immediately smiles when he realizes he definitely doesn't recognize him.
Yep.
Like, in his face.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward because he has to talk in these scenes, and it's like, oh god, your voice, dude, your voice.
Yep.
But he limits what he says. He says as little as possible. But
but he's very precise is what he says. And I love that he gets that there's that wonderful shot of he's sat in the guy sat in the chair, and he's got his hat on and stuff, and Keys is sort of sat to his behind him to his left, and the guy sort of looks over, like they finished talking. Keys has walked to his desk, sort of thing.
I think Keys goes to make a call, doesn't he? Because he says, will you testify to this?
That's right. And he said, yes. He says to him, will you testify? He says, yes, Medford man will always swear. And all that, all that. Sort of, Medford man always swears what he says. Of course he does, and all that sort of stuff. And the guy looks over at Neff, and Neff sort of turns to his side and sort of slowly walks behind him. And you can see there's there's this moment of recognition. The guy sort of like, that's weird. And he looks back the other way as he goes past him, and he says, what? He says, you've ever been up to Medford? And he says, no. He says, fishing.
Oregon?
He says, ever been? Yeah. He says, ever been fishing? He says, no, don't fish. He says, what is it? He says, what was his bloody last? What's Neff's? It is Neff, isn't it? Neff's his last name, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he says. He says, do you know the whatever it is Neff's from such and such? He says, no, don't know him. Not a thing. And he's doing his best to sort of like push himself that you can see him sort of trying to angle himself away from him and switch himself down so that he doesn't sort of get a proper square on back view of him.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
you know, I kept thinking during that scene that like the best thing he could have done would have been to have been like, oh yeah, I love fishing. I fish all the time.
Yeah.
You know, just send him on that path. Send him down that route. You know.
Yeah, but then he might have he might have said something
Yeah, I know.
fishing
He
that
probably would have
that comes
followed up with a
out.
fishing related
Yeah.
question, and it would have been a
Yeah.
problem. But
I
yeah,
think he's getting some. It feels like he's getting somewhere, and then luckily Keys comes in and sort of heads him off and talks about
yes,
expenses and stuff. And he says, oh, we'll pay for your expenses. We're going to send you home tonight. And he's like, tonight? He says, well, I prefer tomorrow. And I love it. He says to him, oh my God, there's this wonderful osteopath I'd like to sort of get on with. He says, osteopath, eh? He says, well, just don't put it on the expenses.
yeah. So Neff calls Phyllis, and I cannot remember what he says. He pretends to be from some company, doesn't he? They've got like this code of like, oh, the soap you've ordered is in, or something, and
yeah,
and of course that's code for come meet me at the shop.
Yeah,
and he tells her basically, you know, hey, Keys he's figured it all out. And she says, he says, look, he's totally got us bang to rights. He's got everything. She's like, well, look, if he's gonna try and fight this, I'll have to sue. And then he's like, and then you'll be in a front of a fucking jury. Like that's a terrible idea. Like,
yeah.
And I think at this point he's just like, let's just let it go, walk away.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we just say, hey, we don't want the money, then no one's going to suspect anything, because you could just say, I never, because the last thing she said to Keys and Co. and the president was, I don't want your money.
Yeah.
Just like, just stick with that. But of course, this is her whole plan. She can't walk away from this. You know, she says, you know, she's gonna fight this, and she's gonna find a way to make this work. And she says, you know, we need to stick together like we did from the start. We need to, you know, we're in this together, and we need to stick together. And of course, again, I love that this scene is broken up by other shoppers and shop assistants, you know, because they have that moment where she actually gets quite emotional and she holds him, she grabs him, and then she has to let go really quickly because someone comes along, and it's like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah. I love as well. In this is she's got sunglasses on in this time as well, so you can't see her eyes properly. You know, she's shielding her eyes now.
And she says, look, I loved you, Walter. I loved you, and I hated him, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but you planned the whole thing. I only wanted him dead. You planned. You did. You're the brains of this. She turns the whole thing onto him. She's like, no. This was all you.
She's all sweet and innocent in this. You know, you're the guy who did it. You did the deed. You did the. You know, you did it all. You're the one who's going to be on the hook for it.
Yeah, and she says, you know, no one's pulling out. We went into this together, and we're coming out of this together. It's you know, it's straight down the line for both of us. Remember, you know. It's great. This scene's great, and I love when she takes the glasses off at one point, just to be like to nail that point of like, we're fucked, mate. You are fucked, and we're in this together. And it's written all over his face as she leaves. He just deer in headlights. He is done.
Yep.
Yeah, really, really wonderful. And then I think it then cuts back to Neff giving his confession. And by this point, I love that the when you first see him, that bullet wound is just like almost like a powder burn on the jacket. And every time it cuts back, that there's more and more blood. It's a lovely little tell as the film goes on.
We should say this is 40s blood and not like.
Oh yeah, of course, it's just black.
Not like Reservoir Dogs where he's
no.
But it's, you know, it's quite bloody for 1944.
Well, and also he's wearing a shirt and a suit. You know, it's not like he's just wearing a t-shirt and bleeding through that. Like, you know, a suit will hide quite a bit. And yeah, it's the 40s. they've got him all covered in
Well,
water. He looks all sweated up, and he
I
looks
mean,
ill.
that's one of the things about this script, and that was originally it was a book by James M. Cain,
Mm.
and previously people had attempted to get this movie done before, but because of the Hays Code and the way that they had to portray these things, no one could properly do it without it seeming like it was immoral and wrong. So Wilder had to sort of come at it from a different angle. He had to basically persuade the the movie men that, oh no, they're going to get their comeuppance. They're going to. There is a moral element to this. It's not that they're not getting away with it. We're not making crime pay here, And Raymond Chandler, they ended up getting Raymond Chandler to work on the script, and Wilder and Chandler fucking hated each other.
Really?
Chandler liked to come at things sort of basically in a leisurely pace. He liked to think things out. He liked to think about his dialogue. Wilder was like, no, now. We want everything done quickly, and we want it out of the way. And they just completely were at loggerheads for the whole thing. And I think at one point Chandler went left. He's like, fuck this, I'm going. And they had to. He wrote this whole this letter to the film guys saying, with a massive list of why he hated Wilder. He gave this huge sort of he's rude. He's this, he's that. I just don't,
Yeah.
So basically said he'd only come back if he sort of apologized to me. And I think it was the only time that Wilder ever apologized to anybody was when he apologized to Chandler to get him back. But I think most of his stuff he rewrote anyway.
Right, sure.
But the the whole sort of punishment angle is there from the beginning, because we already know.
Oh yeah, we already know where he's ending up. Yeah,
we already know because he's been shot. He's shot at the beginning. At the beginning, so we don't know.
And he's leaving a confession.
Exactly. Yeah. So we know that he's not going to go away. And there's one big difference in the book. In the book, they kind of get away with it, and they end up on a boat, and they both commit suicide.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So they sort of they commit suicide. So it's they the company again. They were like, that's not good enough. That feels like they're kind of getting away with it. They basically die on their own terms. And
yes,
Wilder was Wilder's like, no, don't worry. I've got a better ending than that. And when he showed it to the writer, Cain read it and said, I wish I'd have done it that way.
Wow. That's
and he
amazing.
wrote, he signed a copy of the book and gave it to Wilder, and Wilder was like, it was one of Wilder's cherished possessions, because it was like saying that he'd actually done better than the original author.
Yeah, which is fucking rare. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only other thing that I can think of that in that case was Stephen King and The Mist.
Yes.
It's a very rare thing for an author to say no, the movie was better.
Yeah, I mean, I could argue that several of King's adapted movies are better than the books, in my opinion, but in terms of endings and stuff. But King would never have said that. King would never have said that. So
I love King, but King has a very he has a very sort of.
He's not very good with payoffs.
It's the ending. Yeah, he's not good.
It's always the ending.
He never seems to get the ending down right on a lot of his books.
Well, sometimes, but not on all of them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Neff meets up with Lola, and she starts crying, and he's like, "Why are you crying?" And he says, "Is it that guy?" And she's like, "Well, yes, it kind of is that guy." She's like, it's been him all along. It was him, and it's him and my stepmother this whole time. And he's like, he starts to think, he's like, what do you mean? Like, whatever could you mean? And of course she says, I've been following him. We broke up, but I've been following him been suspicious of him, and I've been following him for the past few days, and he's been meeting up with my mother. And you know, of course, Lola's upset because she's like, this is the person who murdered, you know, my father. My stepmother's done it again. She took my mother, now she's taken my father, and she's taken my boyfriend and made him complicit in this murder as well.
Yeah.
And again, Walter has perfect fucking time. This is it. This is another out, my friend. You could literally pin it on him, and that will be the end of your worries. They'll both get done. You get away with it.
Yep.
No evidence pointing to you. All hearsay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Keyes would buy it. Keyes would totally buy it.
Yep.
And that's what I love about this movie. Every step of the way, he knows what he should do, and the path is so obvious, but he just doesn't do it.
No. But even he goes to Keyes's dictaphone, doesn't he? And he plays back the dictaphone thing, and then even the dictaphone, you know, Keyes says that, oh, you know, Neff's a good man. He's not, you know, he everything by the book, and he says he says, oh, we've got someone we know who's been, you know, we've got evidence of this guy visiting her on the like the 10th, 11th, 12th, you know, and he's like goes, and you can see it in Keyes' eyes, he's like, that fucker, he's been, you know, he's been seeing that, but it's all beginning to click in place for him, you know. It's like, oh, fuck, you know, this is he just didn't see it himself. He didn't see these bits.
Yeah. It's such a well written script, and it's so well executed.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, you know, like once he hears, it's such a mixture of emotions where, you know, I guess on the one hand he's happy that Keyes doesn't suspect him, but on the other hand he's been really deceitful, and he feels bad that he almost feels bad that his friend doesn't see it, you know. That he's had to deceive his friend, and that his friend thinks so highly of him. But again, yeah, like I said, it's the perfect out. He has the perfect out if he would only take it. But yeah, he phones Phyllis from the office. Another mistake.
Yeah.
But I guess at this point he's like, this is fucking going down.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I think
you know,
he's kind of all in at this point, isn't he? He's like,
yeah,
he knows what he's got to do now.
Yeah. And yeah, he arranges to see her at 11 o'clock. And he basically says, oh, it'll be fine. You know, it's all fine. Don't worry about it. You know, don't worry. Like, he'll be okay. You know, don't worry about Keyes. And, it's going to be fine. And I think he says in the monologue to Keyes, he says, you know, I saw the path. He's like, I saw the way to get through all of this mess. You know, he'd figured it out.
Yeah.
So of course, he heads over to the house. She turns all of the lights out in the hallway.
And this is just wonderful. This is like the culmination of how the movie's
so good.
And she's literally going through
turning
this
the light out.
room that we've seen with, like, you know, initially it was a very bright room.
Yeah.
And it's slowly got more dark as the movie's gone on, and this is the last sort of, you know, this is the last thing that she's going on, and she's switching off these lights, and she's just sinking into the darkness as she's going along, and she sits there in that chair in the dark.
Yeah, smoking.
And he comes into the living room, and I love the way that they you know,
again, it's that fedora suit combo that shadow precedes him into the room.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and it's they're like they're in separate parts, and but the camera's on both of them, And he's at one end of the room, she's in this other little room, and the you can barely see them because just these little beams of light from certain windows and things. It's so beautiful. And you can definitely feel that the end is coming.
God, yeah.
Darkness is drawing in.
Yeah. And he asks if anyone's there. She says no, nobody's there. And he questions about the jazz music that's playing. And he says, well, it's just like the first time I came here. I was talking about automobile insurance, and you were only thinking about murder.
Yeah.
And he says, I was thinking about your anklet. And he says, I'm all through thinking. Just came to say goodbye. And she's like, she's like, where are you going? He's like, I'm not going. You're going. He says, let me tell you this story about this story my friend has. Two people commit murder, and he kind of goes through the whole thing. He basically says, Keyes has these two dead to rights, effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she says, like, just who are you talking about? And he says, oh, that acquaintance of yours. She says, Lola's boyfriend, who I continually forget the name of.
Nino.
Nino, thank you. Jesus Christ, my memory. And he says, it's been that Nino guy all along, hasn't it? And she's like, that's not true. And he's like, well, point is that Keyes believes it. That's all that really matters,
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can walk away from this now. And it's one of those things where it's like, dude, you had it. You could have done this, but you had to go and rub it in her face. You had to go there. You had to go in person. You couldn't have just walked away and just if he'd just gone home and just let this take its course, it would have been fine. And I love that there's like 3 or 4 times in this movie where he could have done that and didn't.
I think. Well, actually, I think he had to. He had to come here and had to because otherwise, I think if he didn't, then I think she would have ended up. Forgetting her name now. The daughter, Lola. Like Lola says, she's probably going to murder. Her and Nino are probably going to murder Lola.
Yeah, that's true.
She's going to probably pin it all on Nino, and she's going to get away with it and all the money. And there's going to be another 2 deaths then. There's going to be Lola and Nino will fucking get the chair for it. So he kind of, I think he's kind of doing the right thing and saving Lola.
Yes, that's true. I mean, he probably would have saved Lola a bit more if he'd just gone to Keyes and gone, "Hey, Lola has this theory, Lola has this idea."
Exactly. Yeah, he could have done it that way.
But yeah, of course, we and I think it works fine. It's not like, that's so silly that he did this. This whole movie is about him just this descent, and he's given every option to just walk away.
Yeah.
And of course, in the opening, he did walk away. He did. He was like, no, this is crazy. Goodbye. And walked out the door. But from that moment on, nope. Can't do it.
Yeah.
And so, he lays out the whole thing. And he says, that's that. And of course, he goes to close the window, doesn't he? He goes to close the blinds. And I always thought that kind of subverted it as well, because I thought it was going to be Nino shooting him through the window or something. But he actually turns, and of course it's her. She shoots him. And he takes a bullet well. He kind of falls back, but then he's like, "Oh, you're going to have to do better than that, baby."
Yeah. That's the one thing. Now I don't know whether it was purposely done or whether it's just the way he says it and it's not. But the way he says "baby" never sits right. It always feels wrong, and I don't know whether it's because it just doesn't feel right because of the actor, or whether it was a conscious decision that it doesn't feel right, that they're doing it on purpose.
I'd be willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, given how masterful the rest of this movie is. You know,
That's
I
what
would.
I do think. I think I lean towards that too. But he says it throughout the whole thing to her. He keeps calling her baby, and it always feels wrong. It always feels, like it always feels like it's that sort of, the guy who thinks he's hip using a word that that doesn't quite fit in his mouth, sort of thing.
Yeah. But ultimately, she can't bring herself to shoot him again.
But he's turned face to her now, and he
walks at her, yeah.
And he says, you can't do it, can you? You can't do it with me facing you.
And of course, she moves in to hug him, and you can see in her eyes she just genuinely has a moment of like.
Or she at least feigns a genuine moment.
Well, she does look upset even when he's not looking at her, because there's that moment when her face is like her head's almost on his shoulders, and she does look kind of genuine for a second. But then of course he says goodbye, baby, and she knows. She fucking knows.
He says she never loved him, and she says not until that moment.
Not until that moment, yeah.
Yeah. And he just shoots her.
Yep. Yeah.
And he doesn't fuck around either. He shoots her twice.
Oh yeah. He's not fucking around. Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm going to make sure you're dead.
Yeah. Put a cage over the grave to stop you fucking coming back.
Yeah. We're gonna make you face down, and we're gonna iron stake you into the fucking coffin so that you can't fucking get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Nino is approaching the house. Neff by this point is outside, and he calls him over. And of course, Nino knows him. And he says, "Look,
He says something
about. He says my name's Neff, and he says, "Yeah, I still don't like it." Which
that's it. Yeah, he says, "Still don't like it." That's what he says. Yeah. And he says, "Here's a nickel. Go and phone Lola."
Yes.
And he's like, "Why do I want to do that?"
He says something like, "Why don't you buy yourself an ice cream or something?"
That's right. Yeah.
And he says, she doesn't want any part of me. And he says, like, no, I'm telling you, that's not true. She loves you.
Yep.
Go and call her.
And he says, he basically says, clearly, Phyllis has poisoned him against her. It was.
He's bought into Phyllis's lies. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just as caught up as he was in her bullshit.
Yeah. But now, for the final time, we cut back to the present, and still kind of delivering his monologue, still delivering his message to Keys. He's starting to cough now as well, like, the end is near. And he says, I want you to do a favor for me, Keys. And he says, I want you to be the one to tell Lola, tell her gently, and take care of her and Nino. It's his like final wish is that actually I've ruined enough lives. Let's not ruin Lola's life.
Yeah.
She is truly innocent in all of this. But of course, he hears a noise and he turns, and his Keys at the door. He says, how long have you been listening? He says, yeah, long enough.
Yeah.
And he kind of jokes about how he's up early. He's like, oh, you're up kind of early, aren't you?
I always wondered what time you got into the office.
Yeah. And he says, did that stomach get you up? And he says, no, the janitor did. Yeah. The janitor got me up. Janitor called.
He said you were leaking blood when you came in.
Yeah. And he says, oh, I just wanted to straighten you out about the case. Keys is like, yeah, so I gather. He says, how long have you been stood there? He says, oh, yeah, long enough. And he says, you can't. He says you can't figure them all out, Walter. And I guess in this case, obviously, it's his friend. He never would have suspected his friend, as he said in the message.
you get that sort of Walter's trying to sort of bluff it out, isn't it? He's trying to sort of
Yeah.
he's trying to sort of say, "Oh, I beat you. You didn't get it," and all that sort of stuff. And you can, and Keys is looking down on him, and you can see this sort of, it's like a disappointed father looking down on him. You can see you can see the pain in Keys's eyes. He's like, he didn't believe it because he thought because he thought, he did see him as
his friend
like
was
son,
capable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keys says he's going to phone a doctor, and of course Neff says, but he puts his hand on the phone. And he's like, "Why? So they can patch me up and send me to jail? Like, fuck that."
Yeah, no. So you can send me to the chair. It's like
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
Yeah. Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah. He says no,
and he says, "Look, you're in no condition. You're not going anywhere." And he says, "Yeah, you bet." He's like, "Watch me." And of course he doesn't get very far. He grabs his coat.
No, well, he
makes it out the door.
He says, give me a head start. He says, I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm gonna go to Mexico and stuff. And he says, you're not gonna make it to the door.
No. And he's like, yeah, watch me. And it depends on which door he's referring to, because he does make it to a couple of doors, but he certainly doesn't make it to the front door. I think he makes it to the main office door, and then he collapses.
Yeah.
And you hear Keys dialing the phone. And Keys called the doctor. He comes over.
Calls the police as well. He says, send for the police too.
Yeah. And Neff says, "Oh God, if only they hadn't moved the elevator like a mile away or whatever."
Yeah,
it's like, oh, if only they hadn't moved the elevator.
Yeah, so moved the elevator a mile away.
Yeah. He says, I love that he says you didn't see the person that was sat right opposite you. That was so close to you. He was right opposite you. In the same office, and I love that Keith just says, "No, closer than that, Walter."
Yeah,
he's closer than that.
Yeah.
And as I said, Keys, the man who struggles to ever light a match, lights the match, for Walter for his cigarette. And it's a really lovely moment. He says he loves him. He says he loves. He says to Keys that he loves him. And I mean, I always kind of assumed he probably died before the doctors or the police turned up.
Yeah, because it does go black before you think. But I think it's implied that he's dead.
My assumption was that he's done.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's dead at that moment.
Yeah.
So they did film another ending.
Oh, really?
So there was an original. The original ending was him going to the chair, and Keys watching it all from a window, sort of thing.
Oh, kind of an Angels with Dirt Faces ending.
Yeah, kind of. They filmed that and they tested it, and I think the audience were a bit like, "Oh, this doesn't feel."
This is the better ending for sure.
Yeah. So he basically cut it, and they decided that no, that he would end at the office.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, it's a much better ending. It's way more impactful to have him.
It really is, and you get that beautiful moment between him and Keys, which I think is the point that would be lost if you then had another scene afterwards. No, that's definitely the better ending. But that was Double Indemnity. I tell you what, I genuinely, it was better than I remembered, and I remembered liking it. I remembered liking it a lot, but it was better than I remembered.
Yeah, it's. I think it's one of the best examples of film noir.
It is kind of the quintessential noir, isn't it? It's the one that's often cited as like if you're going to see one, this is the one. And you can see why. I mean, and it's so well written and executed and acted. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and almost every actor in it is playing against type. You've got the McMurray as
but also not only playing against type, but also doing a wonderful job of it as well. There's no dud in this film.
Yeah, And again, Robinson was always playing gangsters. You know, he was.
Yeah.
This is him playing, for all intents and purposes, a lawman this time. You know, time round, and yeah, they all do some of their finest work ever in this movie. You know, it's
I agree.
It's a wonder, and you know, again, Billy Wilder's got a fucking amazing, you know, list of movies, but this is, you know, right up. This is one of the best movies he did, which is, you know, saying something. Consider how many fucking wonderful movies he's got. You know, you know, Some Like It Hot is pretty hard to beat, but
oh god, yeah.
You know, this is just a wonderful fucking film.
It really, really is. Absolutely fantastic. And highly recommended. In any case, we will be back next week reviewing new movies, as always. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.